What do gardens and alignment actually have to do with one another? Well, today on Mindset Matters More, we are going to talk to the amazing Cheri Stringer. She is a true visionary who transforms both landscapes and lives. She is the founder and creative director of Gardens of Change, a design studio that crafts sacred outdoor spaces where nature, soul, and structure come together in perfect harmony. A former scientist turned award-winning landscape designer and transformational coach, Cheri helps people move through life's biggest challenges and create their own personal masterpiece, both in their gardens and in their lives. She's the host of Masterpiece Cafe podcast and the author of Masterpiece, guiding high achievers from success that no longer fits to a life of deeper meaning and alignment. Everybody help me welcome the inspiring Cheri Stringer. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Yeah, you bet. I was very excited about this. I'm looking forward to it.
So I want to dive right in and just pick your brain about how you went from scientist to landscape designer. That sounds like a very deep point of inflection, and I feel like there's a story there that I want to pick apart.
Yes. I was deep into my PhD actually, and I was studying epigenetics. And in epigenetics, we were studying actually the transformation of cells and how our genes actually influence those cells in their environment. So, in that study, I became fascinated with environment. And I realized that actually the environment around us, the world outside of us, the landscapes, the soil that we move through was more important to me than the epigenetics that I was studying in a science lab. And I started to look around me for ways that I could integrate something that I was already doing and loved. And I loved being in my garden. I loved experimenting with plants. I loved building and structure. And I came from a family that actually did a lot of architecture. So architecture was really appealing to me. And the irony of all of this is that all this was going on in my head while I was doing my PhD. And I was invited to a voluntary group within my community called the Landscape Advisory Task Force. And when I joined the task force, it was about converting all of these islands in our community to something more meaningful, something that would elevate people's lives. And at the time, I felt this pull towards landscape design and architecture. And I started practicing it in this landscape advisory task force committee. I started practicing it, talking to different, construction companies about installing these islands and walking with these designers who were creating them. And they were literally turning these piles of rubble into community spaces where people got together. They shared ideas, they shared thoughts, their children played together. And it was in that moment that I realized that I needed to be in landscape design and architecture. And I'm one of those people that I have been through many life transitions. And so when I have that realization internally, I shift everything around me. And I left the PhD program. I finished my master's. I left the PhD program and then I went into landscape design and I poured everything I had into it. I wrote a new identity. In fact, I created a multi-million-dollar company within that over the span of 15 years. I won over 21 awards. I became the go-to landscape designer for transforming people's lives.
I love the imagery that you created here of taking this rubble and created it into something impactful, not just for the individual, but for the community at large. And it seems like your life has mirrored that too. And not that your life was rubble, but taking these pieces and molding it into something that becoming a transformational coach, you're impacting not just the individual, but the community around this individual too, right?
Yeah. Exactly. And that's what Masterpiece is about. It's not about creating something that is perfect. It's about this living ecosystem that you're creating that's actually building impact for others, not just for yourself, but it's also you living your edge, right? It's also you living your values. And that requires some pretty deep mindset shifts.
Absolutely. And coming into alignment and recognizing the impact that not only that it has for just yourself, but for your children, for your family, for your friends, and seeing that because you get to live a life that is filled with happiness, joy, freedom, that it inspires others to see what can I do? What can I expand into? And so it looks like, you know, therapy, coaching, personal development outwardly might seem like it's a selfish endeavor, but really it's about the community. It's about the community at large, right?
It's about what we can impact that actually matters to us. Because the last thing we want to happen is actually get to the end of our lives and have regrets. Regrets for the things we didn't do, the people we didn't serve, and the ways we didn't live. And so when we align to the things that we value the most, and in this, you ask about that transition from science to landscape design and architecture, it was about my own values. I valued nature, I valued architecture, I valued community, and I valued transforming people's lives by changing the environment they lived in. When I start taking actions aligned with those values, I feel more alive and I end up not having regrets.
I love that. The feeling of alive. What does that mean to you?
Well, when we think about feeling more alive, it's all about, did I do something that mattered today that actually mattered to me? And did that thing that I did today that mattered to me actually matter to other people?
Uh,
Did it change it for the better for them? And when
yes.
those two things we can say yes to, I can
Yeah.
say, today I did something that shifted someone's perspective, it changed their life. Today I did something that created an environment in which they lived into. And now they gathered with their family where they wouldn't have done that before. Looking at night, I can say, I lived my values and I created impact. Now I feel like I'm living a life that's fully fulfilled.
Oh, I love it that it's both, you know, is it in alignment with myself, but is it also outwardly giving impact? And I think one of the things that a lot of people are craving is impact, whether it's socially, whether it's with the community, but having an impact outwardly. And, some people give it in the form of money, time or energy, but really finding what it is that is going to feed that part of you that says, I've helped my fellow man, I've helped my fellow human, I've felt the next person to elevate to another level of consciousness or even just self-awareness that can be deeply fulfilling, right?
Right. And sometimes when we're talking about this, people go, wow, it's like too big, right?
Yeah.
It's too big, it's too aspirational. So let's take it down, grounded to something we can all relate to. We've all had the experience where we've been in line at the coffee shop and we decide to buy the coffee for the person behind us. Why does that feel so good when we do that? Because that person wasn't expecting anything in that moment. And yet they received something they didn't expect. And it let them know that there was another human that actually cared enough to put themselves aside and make a difference for them in that moment. So when we talk about like going out and doing an act of kindness,
Yeah.
we get this feeling that we've done something that matters and our life matters. But too often, we're running in our lives with our to-do lists and our tasks. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, we look at the to-do list and we go, not a single one of these was actually something that matters to my heart
Mm.
and
Guilty.
matters to someone else's heart, right?
Yeah. So it sounds like the connection to heart, and especially in our actions, it's the connection to that inner being, which, call it heart, soul, spirit, but it's coming from a deep place that is wildly fulfilling, but it's also impact. And
Here's the part, yeah, and here's the part that most people miss. It becomes easy when you're coming from your own heart. When you're doing the things that matter to you and it impacts someone else, those two hearts connect.
yes.
And now you create impact, but you create it in flow,
Oh,
which
yeah.
can be difficult.
So let's talk a little bit about because as somebody who is an overgiver, guilty, how do we distinguish between giving from the heart and giving from that place of I need to know that I matter, so I'm going to give? How do I know that I'm not overgiving? Like how would you define that line?
Wonderful question. Because the distinction actually lies in what most humble visionaries feel is selfish.
Mm,
And that is that I have to know what matters to me.
yes.
And I'm taking action on what matters to me. That feels like I'm not actually being generous and giving in the world. But the real truth is that we serve the most when we are coming from our heart
Yeah.
on the things that actually matter,
Yeah.
right? So if it matters to me, if let's say um, environmental stewardship matters to me, I don't want to waste, time with materials that don't actually support the planet, right? And I go out and I take an action that doesn't actually support that in a day. At the end of the day, I can't say that I lived that value of my environmental stewardship and it matters to me. And so I haven't filled my cup. I haven't come from my own heart. But when I come from my own heart, in the act of doing that, I actually create impact for others. And that's the distinction. If I just give from my heart, but I haven't first given to my own values and taken action on my own values, then it feels empty.
Yeah. And I think it's really important to start off with defining what are your values. Because a lot of people have an idea about what they think is what they value. But when you get really down to it, like
Yeah.
what is it that is driving you most of the time? I'll just give a little dumb kind of example with myself is, I really value the connection in my relationship, but I also value fairness. And so I would think that, oh, me correcting my husband in fairness was something that's like, oh, that's just how I'm being helpful. But it was destroying the connection that I valued even more than that fairness.
Right.
And like, you don't even realize that you're trampling over your own value system for the sake of another thing and really figuring out, okay, what do I align with? Then you can think, okay, is my next action going to be aligned with my relationship with my husband or fairness? Oh, I'm going to go with my husband every single time, right?
That's right. I mean, you're going to align those three actions. Let's do an exercise. What are your top three values?
Family, honesty, and spirituality.
Mm.
See,
Pick one.
I was toggling between spirituality and love, but spirituality just rang.
Spirituality is love.
Yes, yes.
Love being expressions. So if those are your top three values, I want you to pick one action that hits all three. Not just one of them, all three. What would that be?
Um, for me, it would be being vulnerable in a moment with my husband.
Wow. There you go.
Yeah. And that right there just sings. It just sings. Like those tender moments between me and my husband, they're like pure ecstasy almost. And it's because it hits all of those, right?
That's right. And when you can say at the end of the day that you have now taken your values first,
Yeah.
think of how much more it shines in that relationship. And now, in that relationship, he shines.
Yes.
right? And that is the distinction between overgiving. Overgiving would be you showing up and serving your partner,
Mhm.
but not in a way that actually serves you.
Yeah.
It doesn't actually align to your own values. And the funny thing that is this ties to spaces, right? And environments. I'll give you an example. I show up at a site and the site is, the client says, I I want to gather with my family, but I can't. I got sandbags over here. I've got blocks in the window wells. Water comes in. That these trees are overgrown. I don't feel like I can have people in the space. And this applies in creating environments as much as it applies to us transforming our lives and our identity, because our identity is tied to our environment. So now you could say, if I take three things about this environment that need to change in order for this client to feel like they can gather with their family, it's going to be I'm going to manage the water that comes in. I'm going to
Mhm.
align it to the house view because they're telling me that the view from inside the house they don't enjoy. And I'm going to create something that actually, harmonizes with them and in terms of beauty, right? So that when
Yeah.
they look out there, they actually want to go out there because now they're going to want to invite their family. So again, I'm doing the same thing. I'm aligning their values, the values that they're telling me that they want to experience and live in their external environment. And so what do? I create a view quarter where they can see the pond from their kitchen. I create a transition from inside to outside that allows them to do outdoor dining and gather at a fire pit and have a beautiful garden so that all three of those come together while I'm managing the water. And
So
then what
explain about
happens?
the water a little
Yeah.
bit.
On most sites, the key element of creating an environment that actually speaks to you and is harmonizing involves managing the water on the site. Because if I don't manage the water, then the water will destroy things. It'll flood things out, it'll go into the basement, it'll erode things. So we do have to manage the water in the site. We have to know the way the water flows across the site. And the thing is, it's the same with our lives because water is just the energy that flows through our lives.
I love that metaphor. I love it. I love it. And then just think about, I mean, we're what, 70, 80% water ourselves. And
Exactly.
and so ensuring that like we're doing water management, obviously within landscape, it's very important. But even in feng shui, they're always talking about having moving water in the home so that like the energy is continuously moving. And
Right.
so it makes sense, especially when doing landscaping, that you're managing the water. But I would never think to connect that to also the energy of the human who's going to be occupying this space too. So taking that element and just ensuring that it harmonizes in there also, it just blew my mind right now.
Well, and that's so the first step is this recognition, right? Because when we recognize that the water of our life is our energy, then we can go to the turning point, which is what are the things we actually value? And then we can go to that into identity transition because it's like, if I know what I value, now I'm going to align my identity to that by taking action in the things I value. What's the one action that aligns with all three of those? And I can pick anything. I can say, this podcast, you know what your top three values are. What's the one action in the podcast that allows you to do that? You know what your top three values are? What's the one action in your friendships that makes that happen? And you'll immediately trust what comes because you'll immediately know what that one action is. Then we have to do the deeper work
Hmm.
of understanding that as soon as we have the awareness doesn't mean that we are embodying that and living it, right? And living it every day is what creates a life that's fully expressed and has impact.
Absolutely. How was it your transition into becoming a transformational coach and having that impact? And what was that point of inflection?
Ah, great question. So, I ran a multi-million dollar business for many years. I had a team of 35. And my sole purpose for that landscape design was to transform people's lives by the environment from the outside in. And over the course of that time, I really got to know people. I got to know their environment. I got to know what changed for them, what shifted, and I watched people's lives literally transform. And I understood that our inner architecture is actually what transforms our environment. So I can transform people from the outside in or from the inside out. But when I combine both, the impact is exponential. So that moment came for me when I actually experienced something in my life that actually took everything away. In fact, my identity was completely crumbled. And it was crumbled by the idea that I expected something different than what I actually experienced. But then I rebuilt myself from there. And it was a moment when I had actually elevated employees in my company to be business partners, but those business partners decided to move on without me. And I actually lost everything. And this moment was actually a ground plane for me to understand that all my work had meaning, that all the work that I still do with people on creating spaces of meaning and purpose that transform their lives is based on all the experience I had. But in that moment, my identity was completely flattened. And in that space, what I understood was that I valued learning. I valued the experience of life, how we are all connected in energy. I valued nature
Mhm.
and I valued growth. And all of those things are expressed most I guess at the highest level, right? In working with people directly for them to build their masterpiece, for them to transform their inner world and their outer world. And so that's when I started working on environment, mindset, to bring all that together for people and to help them go from a place of one identity to another, to shift and transition and live in this way that actually is the way we're all meant to live, right?
Yeah, yeah. And you often think of transforming inside out. I mean, that's the type of work that I do necessarily. It's, really doing that inner work and then you
Right.
seeing it reflected out in your manifestations and in your 3D world. Like everything that comes in just kind of blossoms outward. But you coming in from the perspective of having both the out and coming in and the in coming out, like that must be such a powerful transformation within people. That like the idea that you can come at it from both angles at the same time, it just seems like, I mean, why aren't more people doing this, right?
That's
But I will say, outwardly, like I've never been somebody who's been able to, like, I'm not like a nature person where like I can grow anything. Like I could kill a cactus. Like I like the interior design of my house, someone else had to do it because creating something of beauty on the outside isn't just something that's like my forte. So I've always just defaulted to what's on the inside because that's what's going to radiate out. And so being able to take that beautiful skill that you have to be able to translate that to, no, let's also use our senses to be able to affect what's on the inside,
right.
just seems like so beneficial.
Yeah, so let's take it from one step further because you don't have to be a designer to actually create an environment that inspires you. It's a simple question. What inspires you in your environment itself? For some people, that's colors on the wall. For others, it's that they have space to move around them, right? They have airflow. For others, that they have light coming in the window,
Mm.
right? And so you don't have to be a designer to start to connect in your heart with what actually ignites you in your environment. Was it that, was it that poster that you just got that you're like, oh, this is just there's something about it that just really every time I look at it, it ignites me. It can be as simple as becoming aware of what it is in your environment that actually serves you and what doesn't. Because here's something that most people miss. It's not just about knowing what ignites you, it's about knowing what to let go of. When I transform spaces for people, the hardest part is taking out the old to make room for the new. And the same is true for our transformation in life.
Yes, immediately I think of my closet.
Right.
Immediately. I just did a video on cream sweaters and I didn't realize I have like 8 of them. And I'm like, why do I have so many cream? Like, I don't even like wearing cream. What is wrong with me?
Right. And you can't get a new color sweater until you're able to let go of the ones you have. But
Right.
as humans, we kind of cling on to that, right? We cling on to what's sort of working to not make space for what could work at a 10x level. And so the mindset of letting go becomes a really big part of this. What is our tool set for letting go of something and embracing something new?
Mhm.
And how have we practiced that? Have we not practiced that or have we practiced that? Because it's not about like, oh, I'm terrible letting go of things. No, this is a skill set issue. And so it's a gap between the skill set that you have now and the skill set that you want. How do we get better at letting go of things? That's a skill.
Yes. Oh, it's a skill. It's a gratitude practice. It's a lifestyle. Letting go for me has been like the evolution especially when I work with clients is helping them to not just let go of something but understand that when you let go of something that it creates a vacuum, and so what are you going to fill it with? What is the process that happens when you let go? What's the process of when you mourn something? What's the process of evolving to the next phase? And understanding that, like, okay, we're moving to the next thing, and how does that impact us spiritually, psychologically, financially, with everything? And coming from that place of it's time, it just, like, you become something new, you allow for more when you let go, right?
You do. Let's do a visual exercise right now. And visualizing is great. You can do this after as well. Go
Okay.
to your closet, grab all three cream sweaters.
Oh, 8.
8. Take them off the racks and put them to the side. Now looking at your closet, at the blank space, I want you to imagine what would you fill it with?
I see reds and blues. And I see emerald green.
Once we can visualize what we'd fill it with, it's a
Yeah.
lot easier to let go.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And you can do this with any part of your life, right? We often think that, oh, if I let go, that's forever. No, it's not forever. It's just for this 30 seconds while I visualize.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So when we talk about our identity, which is a deeper thing, right? We're going from a transition from one thing to the next. We want to build from here. We want to build our masterpiece. We're doing work that we're good at, we're really good at, and we get paid for. And, you know, I- I'm doing all this. Why would I want to build my masterpiece, right? Why would I want to go into really meaningful work and have bigger impact? Well, I've already got some success. We've got to do the same thing. I've got to be able to take those sweaters off the rack and set them aside.
Hmm.
And in the empty space, start to imagine what would I fill it with? Okay, so if I wasn't doing landscape designs and I wasn't working with a team of 35, what would I fill it with? And the moment you can do that, you can visualize what you would fill it with. It's easy to let go.
Yeah. It's almost there's a sense of settling for good enough.
Yes.
And the sweaters are perfectly fine. They're cute sweaters, they're pretty sweaters.
There you go.
But do they make my heart sing? Like, am I excited to put them? Like, I love this color coral. Like, it was exciting to put on. Like, am I excited? Like, no, it's just like, it's a sweater. And being able to channel that in everything you do, not just your clothes, in your career, in your relationship, in your conversations, in the car you drive, in the computer you buy, in, even just having the conversations that mean something to you, because this conversation has just filled me to the brim with so much like joy, love, and excitement, right? And it's
Right.
like, I created this.
Right. Exactly. But in
Oh,
order to create that, we have to make space for the new
yes.
to enter.
Yes. I am so grateful for you, Cheri. This has been such an amazing conversation, and I do thank you for your time. Please tell everybody how they can get in touch with you. What projects do you have coming up? Just let us know.
Well, I have a great project going on right now. It's called When Success No Longer Fits. It's a live immersion. It's happening this Thursday, and actually, it happens once a month. And that as a chance for you to step in there and actually become aware of what you might put in the place when you let go of something. And it leads to something bigger, which is the sovereign flame. And the sovereign flame is 3 sessions where we go deep on identity transition, where you're standing at a pivot point. You've created something, you've built something, but now you long for something deeper. And this piece, this sovereign flame piece, the 3 sessions, comes from this free live event, right? So if you come to a live event, you can just become aware of what you might want to set aside and what you want to create in place of it. And then we can go deeper if you want to go deeper into that, right? So that's coming up. You can find Masterpiece Cafe on YouTube, where I interview humble visionaries about their masterpiece life. Either they're unfolding or they're actually in the process of creating that right now. In that transition, you can see the mindsets that they're struggling with and the conversations we have around that, which is fabulous. And you can find me on LinkedIn. So I post a weekly newsletter where I help people with their mindset, their environment, and their energy. So tune in and get some value.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for your time, energy, and honestly, I learned a lot from you today, and as I learned from all of my guests, but just the moments, I'm gonna have to rewatch this one a few times because there was a lot in here. I am so grateful, Cheri. Thank you so much for being here.
Yes. And be sure to let me know what color sweaters you replace those with.
Oh, I definitely will. I definitely will.
Thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I really enjoyed it.
All right, everybody, share this video. All right. Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.